Chapter 4. So Logan said, looking over at his brother, who cast him a glance, taking his attention from the road for a moment. Nothing's going on, huh? Nope, he said easily. As he pulled up in front of Natalie's house, he shifted the truck into neutral and set the brake. Jesus, you are so full of shit, Logan said. His brother came home last week and told him that they were double dating to the fair and that Logan was taking Natalie's sister. He didn't ask, but told him. Logan didn't protest, because if the sister Lo Oak any my maming like Natalie, he was all for it. He also didn't ask why Matt any why ting else, because he wasn't sure if this was just protectiveness on his part or what. But today when he met him in the foyer, Wyatt was dressed up and he even put on some cologne. He only did that when he was going out with a woman. A slight smile pulled at Matt's mouth as he got out of the truck. Logan followed suit, and they went up the stairs together. "Oh, wow," exclaimed Jenny, as she watched them from the front window. "What a sexy pair," she thought to herself, like matching stud bookends. She chuckled at the thought while her eyes guided to Logan. She thought Wyatt was devastating, but the brothers certainly just as much, if not more. Handsome. Logan wore a black Stetson, a Jad E-shirt, and new jeans, topped with a large belt buckle like his brother. Wyatt wore a blue and white striped western cut shirt and a cream Stetson. "Nat, more fella is here." She turned and hollered up the stairs before going and answering the door. "Ma'am," said Logan, tipping his hat in greeting. "Hi," she said, try mim not to faint at the sight of Logan. Gosh, he was my fansome up close. It's no wonder Natalie never wanted to leave. Martindale. With men like this around, she wouldn't have either. They were just so darn manly. Wow, Matt said under his breath, drawing her attention. His eyes were focused past her. Jenny turned to see what drew his interest and smiled. Natalie came down the stairs wearing jeans, a stylish pink, a pleasant surprise. Western-style blouse with silver buttons and a white hat. It wasn't a Stetson by MIMP means, but it sure made her look like she fit in. Her hair was unbound, and he loved how long it was. She was radiant. Jenny made sure that her makeup was done too, so gone was the tomboy. Hello, gorgeous young woman. "So, eat," Logan said to Jenny, with one of his jaw-dropping charming grins. "You're the sister?" "The one and only my OS Quiam," she said with a flirtatious laugh. She had on a cream blouse, a full-length denim skirt, and boots that would suit walking around the fairgrounds. Natalie had already warned her about the pumps she wanted to wear, so she ended up doing some shopping of her own. "Why, my mem," Matt stepped forward with an appreciative smile. "Hey, OSQ." Natalie tried not to act so nervous. She felt out of sorts wearing snug clothes, but Jenny passured her that they weren't that tight. However, from the appreciative perusal that Wyatt just gave her, she began to wonder. "Do I have a wart on my FP nose?" she said, staring up at him as she reached the bottom step. "It wasn't Moimer nose I was looking at," he said with a sensual smile. Her eyes popped wide, and then she near gasped as he reached over and took her hand, encasing it in his. My OSQ, said, turning to the other two. "You bet," Logan said, slinging his arm around Jenny my OSCM's shoulders like they my OSD been dating for months. She shot her sister a look that near made her laugh. Jenny was confident in herself and knew how she looked to the opposite sex. But when it came to Logan's self-esteem, she probably started to feel a little overwhelmed at his sudden forwardness. Natalie just gave her a smile, and Jenny grinned, tossing her eyes toward the tall cowboy, as if to say, "What? Stud. Yo, you don't need to be so protective," Natalie said once he found a parking spot. Logan and Jenny were already out of the L.R. wards. 7 Neither one of them stopped talking all the way there. Natalie and Wyatt never said a word. Well, Wyatt T was just being his usual self, but Natalie couldn't believe that he held her hand and came to the conclusion that he was giving people a premise because they were worried about Willie around her. No, he said, staring down at her. I told you, Mamu, before that, Willie doesn't seem all that aggressive. Maybe he likes a different kind of woman. No, he doesn't, he said, opening the door and getting out. Then he extended his hand. How do you know, she said, sliding over through the driver's door with his help. Here is the text to convert. Because I wouldn't, he answered, shutting the door behind her, without taking his eyes off of her. Her mouth fell open. Are YMIF and mouth two gonna stare at each other all yim DYMYF free im? The beer gardens have been open for an hour. We won't find a seat. Logan teased. Wyatt never indicated that it bothered him at all, but Natalie flushed clear to the roots of her hair and gave him a glare as she walked by him. He gave her a look of mock innocence, and Jenny burst into laughter. What DY might want to do first, he asked her. I don't know. Did YMIFN want to see the horticultural display meme? The rodeo doesn't start for another few hours. I'd like that. She would. She enjoyed the judging competitions. On her breaks last year, she liked going and looking at the entries. We have time. We'll be in the beer gardens, Logan said, gripping Jenny Myosm's hand and dragging her. Happy along with him. I see enough damn plants at home. Jenny and my mem OSC mom during laughter trailed the rough the crowd. Natalie had to admit that it was really neat to see those two hit it off so well. Well, Logan wouldn't have a problem with women, and Jenny, my MMP was pretty FMIMP. She just hoped that he didn't break her heart like he did. Missy S. She's fine, Matt said, seeing her wrinkled brow. Her eyes darted to him. Your sister? Eat, he continued. Eat. I already read him the riot act. She smiled. You're a nice man. Why snim it at? To her complete surprise, he grinned. It wasn't often that Matt display med those nice even teeth of his, but now she knew why. It was completely devastating to the opposite sex. You wouldn't sees if tem that if him what was going through knew what was going through him head right now. She tilted her head in confusion, so he elaborated. I never realized what a nice proportionate body you possessed. Oh, I knew it was nice, but honey, my mentee, moi mem air drawing stares. At those words, she glanced around and saw more than a few male eyes on her. Were they looking at her? Your waist is small enough for a man like me to span you my FNP hands round. He didn't add that it was a treat to make love to a woman that was easy to maneuver because he knew she would faint. She was shorter than most women that he dated too, so that just reinforced his previous thoughts. Although he really he didn't date much now, especially in the past few years, but he still had needs. Logan had this idea that Sani Mayim pruned him, but it wasn't like that at all. He just never found someone that interested him beyond a physical urge every now and then. Natalie started to interest him physically, and he was also curious about her. Nothing he expected from her happened. She just kept surprising him, and he liked that. L.R. Wards. 7. As it was, she was taking his subtle sexual context well. He expected her to run and hide a few days back when he told her that he liked the feel of her mouth and her ass, but she actually looked slightly aroused despite the rising blush. It was another thing that he found alluring besides her growing self-esteem. Why my Matt? Stop, she breathed, looking up at him. He reached up and took a strand of her hair between his fingers. Silky soft. His eyes followed the gesture and then centered on hers. I bet Moimu re-liked that all over. He added deeply. There's a crowd, she murmured, completely hypnotized by those warm, burnt sienna colored eyes of his. So? He smiled slowly. My MMNT, I don't care. I am my Matt, quit teasing. She knew he had that dry sense of humor that most men found funny, but right now she was feeling insulted. She was sure that he knew she liked him. How could he not? Every woman would. Also, she certainly wasn't protesting at the river when he kissed her. In fact, she encouraged him. Her feelings were fragile around him, and he was so out of her reach and experienced with women that she didn't have a chance. He released her hair and placed his hands on his hips while staring down at her. She thought he was teasing her. Wasn't he obvious with the way he'd been with her the past few you may my free mempan the things he was saying? Any other woman would have leapt on him the moment he kissed them. But he didn't want to frighten her, so he was taking it easy, because he knew she wasn't YMP experienced. Now, however, he realized that she was way more innocent than he first thought. Well, she did mention that she never kissed a man before, but honestly, he thought that she wasn't being truthful because no one that looks like she did could have reached her age not being kissed. Have Moim ever had a boy friend before? What does that have to do with this? Quit evading the question. She rolled her eye. My is sly imly my fp my embarrassed. Okay, pno. A hergel air date. Or why am just asking me these things so Yim Moo can embarrass me further? No, he said honestly, feeling that familiar dread in the pit of his stomach when he knew he wouldn't like the answer. She studied him for a moment, then shook her head. Ogesis, he murmured, under his breath. She was a blue MIMP virgin. No wonder this didn't make any sense to her, and why her reactions were so unpredictable. He knew she was naive, but not that naive. Why the hell didn't he figure this out sooner? Was he that blind to it because of the way he started to feel about her? Christ, he'd been YMYFQYMing things to her that none would understand, but she was as green as grass. This last premonition shut him down completely emotionally, and simically, he certainly didn't want a virgin. Women like that were needy after their innocence was taken. No man wanted a needy woman, no matter how goddamn gorgeous she was. Well, he did, but he sure as hell wasn't going to. Natalie couldn't figure out the expression on his face, or why my FNQ my MP he asked her those questions. It seemed as if the warmth he showed her moments ago had suddenly flooded out of him. Matt, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong except my FP FM there is to damn SM art for her own good. What the heck did that mean? She didn't have a chance to ask because he changed the subject. Common, he said, turning a mangum mave in Delaware Fepper. Let's go see those display. She fell in step beside him and spared him a couple of glances on the way to the pavilion. He didn't even look at her or touch her again. Suddenly, the old reserved Wyatt was back. The L.R. Wards, United, one that hardly said a word to her in the last 4 years, and she couldn't figure out what brought about that change. Jenny MQ. Oh shit, Logan muttered, as Miss my OSRO voice split his ears. Hi, Missy Moni OSQ Jenny, said, shooting Logan, an amused look by Mem widening her eyes very subtly, and grinning from ear to ear. Missy planted herself next to Jenny at the table that they sat at uninvited. So how long are in Pintown? She gave Logan a quick appraisal, but he seemed focused on something else in the crowd. For as long as Nat needs me. Oh, she said, trying to hide her disappointment, and failing miserably. I take it Moy and Logan know each other, she said with a slight tone of amusement. Yes, she said, shooting him a look. We dated. No, we didn't, he countered evenly, my mon. We did so, she stood and said in a louder voice. Missy mim 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 my mim sit down. Jenny Mimithamalamum said calmly, Missy Myman. Ms. glared at him and sat down. Here is the text to convert. There's no need to cause a scene. He won't talk to me. She waved a hand toward him. Here is the text to convert. There's nothing to Moen, he said, meeting her eyes. Logan wasn't intimidated by my fair behavior in the least. If anything, it was pissing him off. It made Chaim wonder what the hell he saw in her in the first place. Well, he knew what, but there was nothing be my moi em mime dem myam mp that. Just because a woman gave good head didn't mean that you marry them. Okay, great head, but still. She glared at him. You don't break up with someone after Here is the text to convert. Careful, he said slowly, my knowing exactly what she just about said. Here is the text to convert. You've already said enough about your reputation. Missy amensab my time don't make it worse. She made a nasty sound in the back of her throat, slapped the top of the table, shot him a tearful look, got up and stormed off. Wow, Jenny said, bringing her amims back to Logan. You are a complete heartbreaker. Does that bother you? He said. He tilted his head ever so slightly to make himself look completely sexy. The brim of his hat cast a shadow across his eyes, creating a mysterious look about him. It caused her eyes to drop to his masculine mouth. She actually had to bite the inside of her cheek to stop herself from gasping. Instead, she forced a grin. No, this man was way too conceit-ed for her, but looking at him now, she didn't care. She didn't lie to Natalie about having some experience with men in college, but this man, right now, made her feel like a woman who had only boys. He was that potent. He grinned, causing dimples to appear at either side of that sensuous mouth. Jenny picked up her beer and took a large drink before setting it down and locking her eye memes on him. Oh, darling, we are in trouble. He chuckled. Hell, I like him my mao alre bam my osq. Her eyes guided past him to see her sister and Wyatt move through the crowd toward them. Natalie didn't look as happy, because she was earlier, and even from where she was sitting, she could see that Wyatt looked distant. Then she saw him place his hand on her back and say something to her. She eyed her eyes through the throng of people to her and Logan, said something back to him, and started making her way toward them. Wyatt turned and went to the booth, more than likely to get them something to drink. Why am so glum? Logan said as Natalie took a seat next to her. I'm not, she said, thinking that she lied. Yap, I'm FMF, no, my from well. And she couldn't figure it out. Matt was still a complete gentleman as they wandered through the horticultural pavilion, but he was different, and she couldn't figure it out. He almost looked bored. Are I mom why my faving fun? Why am my bamern? Logan teased. She rolled her eyes. You put a woman in Logan's hands, and he was in heaven. Missy stop by to my FQ mime fellow. Jenny told her, with amusement glittering in her green eyes. Oh, she turned her attention to him. Logan, I'm moim, know how she felt about you. Here is the text to convert. Honey, the feelings weren't returned. Did you want me to lead her on? He said, raising his brows. No, she didn't. I guess not. Just then, Wyatt sat down beside Logan and set a beer down in front of her. Enough talk of Missy Ma, Jenny said with a smile. Let's enjoy mime pew MMMP ourselves. She picked up her cup and took another long drink. Natalie couldn't but think how men could so easily turn off of women. Her eyes guided to Wyatt as his brother talked to him about the rodeo that was going to start in about an hour. He shut down, and she didn't know why. My moan. Then she directed her attention to Jenny my MP, who seemed engrossed in Logan's discussion. Her sister even acted as if it was all Missy my OM's fault. Was she missing something? Missy was still their cousin and a human being. Even if she told some lies, she was always nice to her. Natalie was frustrated at all three of them and picked up her beer, swallowing half the cup. When she set it down, Yum y Matza Maz were on hers, obviously seeing her inhale the alcohol, and one brow raised in question. She averted her gaze and continued to drink her beer. She didn't owe him any mem hing. A pleasant surprise. 80. She was on her third beer when they seated in the bleachers for the rodeo, and when she went to order a fourth by raising her hand, why my, it's lifted up and encased it in his. I think that's enough. Her eye, my me's went to his, and she narrowed her gaze. And who made my FP and my MP conscience? The three large cups of beer seemed to remove every stitch of her shyness. She was at a point where she didn't care what he thought. Just because my OS-ry pissed off at I am my and me right now doesn't mean he am my from my mouth hide it in liquor. That was interesting. She didn't think he even noticed how she felt over the way Missy was treated. She had to give him credit. Now, for someone who didn't seem interested or aware of what was going on around him, he sure picked up a lot. It's better than turning into an iceberg, she accused. Iceberg? He cocked a single brow and stared down at her with an amused glint in his eyes. 1 minute, one my mar warm, the next my warm packed, as if I'm some disease. Here is the text to convert. Is that what this is about? He said, raising his brows. You don't even deny Mum Pit. No, because she was right, and he was an honest man. She removed her hand from his and folded her arms under her breasts, waiting for an explanation. But it didn't come. After a few minutes of staring at each other, she spoke again. Why am all the most frustrating person I've ever met. Because I don't be lather on about crap that's unimportant. He said as a matter of factly. Missy seemed important to me. That's good. What if the shoe was on the other foot and it was Logan that got jilted? Logan is a full-grown man, as am I. He'll handle it, and was jilted, practically at the altar, and handled it. She'd forgotten about that. Her expression softened. It never occurred to her that he understood more than he let on, but he never said anything, darn it. So what's with the cold shoulder toward me then? Here is the text to convert. Did Yamao expect a torrid love affair, Nat? He said, arching his brows. She actually flushed despite the beer. She had that made her feel brave and was thankful that the crowd was loud enough to drown out their conversation beyond their own ears. No, she said weakly, better. She should have known better. She wasn't pretty, poor his my met she'd assumed from the my if he was toward her lately, my MMP, that he started caring about her. He released a heavy sigh, looking down at her, as he thought a woman untouched was needy. His protectiveness over her lately was seen as affection by her. However, he did find her very attractive, but that was normal with a man and a woman who looked the my MMP she did. I don't seduce virgins, he said finally, my FNQE not liking to explain high himself. They am my am me too damn knee in my OSQ. Her mouth fell open and her face flamed. You wanted to know, he said casually. She grew angry. My pagan. You are so presumptuous to think you could seduce. He's that, am I? She nodded. He leaned down so his face was inches from hers. All right. He leaned down so his face was inches from hers. All right. Natalie, since you brought it up, tell me right now that when I touch me FN Mao that no my FN Kimu, don't heat up a few degrees, and my heart doesn't pound. Rapidly my FQ my pin, moi mar chest. And then there's this sensuous feeling low in your pelvis that it, here is the text to convert. Her eyes widened, and he paused. He was getting to intimate with his explanation, and he was sure that she hadn't been spoken to like that before. Even if he was right, my point is that I have experience, and wow, don't. I know what arouses a woman. I know the sign S and how to act on them, use them, indict, and manipulate them to get what I want. You, on the other hand, are as green as grass. You know how it feels when I touch you my wifari mo, and it's strange, but some like it. Here is the text to convert. Stop. She interrupted, feeling her cheeks flame. Hotter, but he didn't. Here is the text to convert. I'll like it, he repeated. And if I was unconscionable, I'd act on those signs. But I have morals, and I won't seduce a woman who has no idea what hit her. You are such a jerk. She stood up and moved by Mem to the steps, went down them, and started walking back through the crowd. She was mad at herself more than anything because he was right. So very right. And she was naive. Stupid not to see it. Natalie. Jenny, Mayam, stood up just to have her arm grabbed by Mayampi. Logan. She looked down, and he shook his head as Wyatt got up and followed the same path. Logan heard some of what was said, but not all of it, and he had to admire Wyatt for his restraint. Because Natalie was a bit of a knockout that but he wouldn't compromise her. It probably wasn't easy for him to say something like that to her, because they both thought she was sweet, but he didn't want her to daydream over him either. What happened? Jenny Mina my MP said, sitting down slowly. Lover spat, he teased at. Natalie wiped her tears with the heel of her hand as she made her way to the entrance of the fairgrounds. She felt completely humiliated. She should have known that her feelings were as plain as the sky on her face the whole time, and that Wyatt had the expertise to see them. She really was stupid. Suddenly she felt a strong hand wrap around her upper arm. Hey, my OSU, he said, Sophie Emily, as he turned her toward him. I'm sorry, my OSQ? L. R. Wards. She nodded but couldn't meet his me's. It's okay, my Mamanyam P. I should have known better. It wasn't just what he said. It was 4 years of pining after a man who wouldn't want anything to do with her. She'd spent day upon day hinking about him, and it all seemed like a big waste of time. Wyatt would never have someone like her. He cupped her head and tilted her face up to his. I mean it. I shouldn't have been so blunt. The tears he saw disturbed him. He'd made her cry, panned. It was inexcusable. May that was the only my fine time get through to me. He shook his head. No, I could have been kinder. He's that. No, Mao were right. Matt, I was stupid. She conceded. It was her stupid ideals with this man that landed her in this mess. Hey, my Emin Inbin, he said, fixing his stare on hers. I don't like to hear that. One thing you are not is stupid. She nodded, just wanting the conversation to end. Here is the text to convert. How about I take you mop home? He offered, feeling guilty over his harsh treatment of her. It wasn't often he made women cry M&T, but there had been a few times, and unlike them, it wasn't because he wouldn't buy him fair a diamond necklace or deny to marry her. She was crying because he embarrassed and degraded her. His mother would shoot him as quick as she could get her hands on a rifle. What about my Aunt P, sister and Logan? She sniffed. I don't think they even noticed we were missing. He smirked and squeezed her shoulders. Besides, Logan needs to know that an intelligent woman can also be attractive. She gave a small smile at the compliment he gave her sister. He was probably right. Well, about the not noticing them thing. She still didn't like me picking on Missy Simon P, but she'd rather not confront him with that again. She felt defeated and really just wanted to get home. He can call me or someone else if he needs a ride, but I Have a feeling he'll be staying mime until the place closes at midnight. Okay, then, she said and allowed him to lead her through the gates toward the truck.